A growing number of countries say they are close to zero malaria cases. And ahead of World Malaria Day on Sunday, I want to focus on these gains in the next few minutes. Now, yesterday, the Goodbye Malaria initiative, together with the Department of Health, they held a virtual roundtable. Goodbye Malaria is emphasizing the need to ensure the disease remains on the agenda and the gains made so far are not lost. The CEO and co-founder of Goodbye Malaria is Sherwin Charles. Is joining us now here on the Midday View on eNCA via Zoom. Mr. Charles, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. First up, and very briefly, how was yesterday's round table?
Thank you very much, Dan, and good afternoon. Yeah, it went very well. We had a panel of experts just giving us information on what is the status of malaria today. Of course, we were incredibly nervous about the impact on malaria programs from COVID-19, and it was a wonderful way in which we could celebrate World Malaria Day by celebrating the successes over the last 12 months.
Okay. Now, there's also some good news. There's a new fund that's in the offing. What can you tell our viewers about that fund? What is it about?
Dan, we've all seen how a public health issue can impact our economy. And so we believe the time has come for us to set up a fund with that'll be a public, private, and community partnership to raise resources in the fight to get to zero malaria, as well as to get sufficient resources in place for neglected tropical diseases. Something that South Africans don't have top of mind. If you look at the recent report, South Africa ranked 39 out of 49 countries in Africa with regard to NTDs. So the fund will be set up to support government's programs, gaps in their strategic plans around malaria and the NTDs.
Now, when you say fund, you're talking money, of course. And nowadays, most of financial resources in the world, including in our country, have been redirected to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. How confident are you that the fund will be well supported? And what's your target number?
Dan, no target number as yet. And as we will work towards launching the fund, we will come back with what the expectations are. But you're absolutely right. This is not a small challenge, but we are very, very confident that we will be able to raise significant resource to ensure that a disease where we have all the tools can be eliminated. South Africa is one of the countries that has set a target date of 2025 for zero local transmission in malaria. We will be working together with the Malaria Elimination Committee, the Ministry of Health, Professor Karen Barnes, who heads up the Elimination Committee, and we will ensure that the resources are there for government to keep their foot on the accelerator.
Okay.
It is a big challenge because as you get closer to zero, there's less burden of disease. So that's when funding tends to dry up. And it's actually more funding needed because you got to get to zero. You know that with the pandemic, the biggest challenge for malaria was that the disease could come back with a vengeance. And so you cannot slack off until you get to zero.
And has it come back with a vengeance? I mean, there were gains made over the last 20 years. Where are we at now?
Dan, the good news is, and I remember having a conversation with you where WHO had put out a report, some modeling around the impact on malaria from COVID-19, and we were expecting to have in excess of 800,000 malaria deaths in 2020. The final numbers have not been released, but what we're seeing from initial numbers is that we've managed to get programs on track, on time, and we're nowhere near close to the 800,000 predicted deaths. We're going to probably be closer to just over 400,000 deaths from malaria.
Oh, that's a huge relief. That's a huge relief, but it's a lot of people.
But it's good news.
Yeah, but in terms of what you were fearing, that 800,000 number was going to be close to 1 million. It's a lot of people. 400,000 is still a lot of people dying from malaria, but better than expected.
Much better.
Yeah. So what's next now? World Malaria Day is coming up on Sunday.
I think,
what's the message?
Important?
What's the message in your fight against this disease, which is still killing a lot of people on our continent?
I think it's a simple message, Dan. As long as malaria exists, it will be the chronic engine of poverty and inequality because it burdens the poorest and most vulnerable of our communities. I think it's our message right now is to inspire and empower the next generations within our communities to take ownership of malaria elimination. Their ownership and their leadership in the fight to zero is what is going to be most important in the coming months.
Thank you very much, Sherwin Charles. Very clear message here as the world prepares to mark World Malaria Day on Sunday, the 25th of April. And good luck to Goodbye Malaria and other people who are fighting this together, including the Department of Health here in South Africa. Now,